So let's start the today's topic. So the today's topic is the basic of C language. Okay. So when you want to start the C language, actually, you should start with the character set. Okay. So this is a very basic thing that the every programming language needs. Okay. Have you learned that subject system programming? Do you have the subject name and system programming in your syllabus?
No, sir, we just had introduction to C programming.
Introduction to and compiler design, any subject related to the compiler design, how the compiler get designed?
No, sir.
No, no. Okay. So actually in our university here, uh, there is a subject name as a system programming for the electronics branches. So that actually defines the how actually compiler has been designed. So if you have that subject, if you know the subject, then actually you are able to learn that actually what is being actually happened when you are compiling the program, what is the process of compilation. Okay. So meanwhile, suppose if this subject system programming or the compiler design, if this subject comes in your syllabus or any course, okay, just like NPTEL course, then just subscribe that course and just perform, or you need to complete that course. Okay, so then able to you can then only you are able to get into the deep of your C language. Okay, so very first one is the character set. So what character set your C language supports? Alphabets, yes, obviously it support the alphabet. Every language support the alphabets, capital A to capital Z, then small a to small z, yes, and then afterwards yes, then afterward the second one is the digits. The digits also it supports. The next one is this some special symbol also we require to make operations, just like for example if I want to perform some arithmetic operation, then the plus minus multiplication division operation is there, some indirection we require, address required, or some bitwise operation we require. So there are the special symbol also there. So this is all comes in a C character set. So C character set defines that using this character set only you can make your program. So your program should contains only these valid symbols. In compiler design, actually these symbols are known as a tokens, is known as a token. So these you can say that these are the tokens of your C language. Okay, so you by using which this tokens you can only do your program, you can only write your program. Okay, now the next one that is very important one is the keywords. Okay, so what is keywords? Keywords are the system defined identifier. Okay, or you can say that it is its meaning is already been defined in the compiler. So for example, take example of case, CASE case. So this case meaning is already known, the meaning of the case is already known by your compiler. That's why it's known as the keywords, which is having the already meaning defined. So keywords are the reserved words. Why it's called as a reserved words? Because we cannot redefine its meaning. We cannot redefine meanings. Char is always char. For the your compiler, the char is a data type, but you cannot define the another meaning of the char. That is, you cannot define a variable with this char, with this char. Okay, so it is already having some meaning, specified meaning in your language, so you cannot use by the programmer. Okay, and you know that here C language is a case sensitive language. Case sensitive means the capital A and the capital small a both are different one. Okay, so CHAR in a small case, this is the keyword, but if you are putting C capital and remaining are small, then this is not a keyword here. So all keywords are defined in a small case later. So C language is a case sensitive, so that's why very carefully we have to write the program. So 32 keywords in a C language are there. Okay, so there are some extended keywords are also there, which is defined in ANSI C, but the majorly we will always study these 32 keywords. Okay, so and what is that keywords we are get to know when we are using it actually: auto, break, case, char, cost. Okay, so all the keyword that we are going to use in the next 15 days. Okay, so we have seen the keywords, but what are variable? So variable is nothing but a name given to the storage. Okay, so we have the data, we have our data, and if I want to store that data inside the computer memory. Okay, so if you want to store your data into the computer memory, you require to allocate some storage area. Okay, so you have allocated some storage area for your data, but to access that particular, to access the particular storage, actually you need to give the name to that storage. So the variable name is nothing but the name given to that storage area, okay, using which we can actually access that variable, we can modify that variable. Okay, so and each C variable has its specific type. Okay, every C variable is having specific type. For example, if I want to store the 10 inside our computer, so we must create a variable which can contain, or which in which we can store the 10 inside it. So that variable is having us that every variable should have a specific type, just like integer, character, and the float and the double. These are the four basic data types your C language is having. And the next one is the name of the variable can be composed of the letter, digits, and the underscore character. So this is a very important rule that everyone know that, because this rule is common to all the languages. It is composed of letters. Letters means small a to small z, capital A to capital Z. It is a any combination of these alphabets, and the digits 0 to 9, and only one special symbol is allowed, and that is the underscore. Okay, but there is again second rule is there. You cannot start your variable name with a number, okay, or a digit. So it must begin with either letter or underscore. And the uppercase, lower, and the lowercase are the distinct. That is that both are the different ones, because C language is a case sensitive language. So there are some rules that is being you should follow while giving the variable names. I think you should know that. And in your theory of introduction to C, these all the rules has been already been covered by in your syllabus, but we'll again revise it. So the name is an any combination of 1 to 31 alphabets. Okay, alphabet, digit, and the underscore. Okay, so it is a any combination of alphabet, digit, and the underscore, but the maximum length is 31 alphabets. Okay, maximum length is 31, but it is not, it is not constant. That is, you should define your variable name with only 31. You can define the variable length, you can define the variable name with the length of 247 characters, but only first 31 characters, only first 31 character is the your compiler is following. Okay, so if there are two variable having the size of having the variable length of 40 characters, only last character is different word. So the compiler will think that the both 31 both variable is having the first 31 characters are same, so it will give the error, it will give error. So only first 31 characters it should be considered for giving your variable name. So stick to the that rule that you should define your variable name below 31 characters. Okay, so do not give the long variable name. The first character in the variable name must be alphabet or underscore. It should not be digit. This is the second rule. The third rule is the no commas or the blanks are allowed within a variable name. So it means that sorry, we cannot have the comma within the variable name. Again, there is no blank space is allowed in a variable name. Okay, so if the space is you are giving the space in between, suppose you want to create a variable with the name of my name. Okay, so if you are doing the my and name with the space, it is not a valid variable name. But so instead of that, you can put underscore in between the two words my underscore name. Comma is also not allowed. So no other special symbol other than underscore is allowed. So these are some examples given for creating the variable in the si underscore int, m underscore hra, pop underscore e underscore 89. Okay, so you can, if these variable names satisfy all the rules, then you can only say that these are the valid variable name. Now these are the some examples here, valid variables and the invalid variable. So we have already discussed about the valid variable names, but let's discuss about the invalid. Very first one is 10 ABC. So 10 ABC is a invalid only because this is started, the first character of this variable is the digit, so it's violate the second rule, so it is not a valid variable name. Second is my dash name, so dash is also not allowed, only underscore is allowed. The third is hello in a double inverted comma, it is not also the valid variable name, it is invalid one. Why? Because there is a double quote is given here. Simple interest, space is there, so that's why it is not a valid one. Area, it is enclosed in a bracket, so it is not a valid variable name. Percentage rate, percentage is a other than underscore symbol, so it is not a valid variable name. While, now this while is a satisfy all the rules, so why the while and return is not a valid variable name? Can anybody tell me?
It's a keyword.
Yeah, it is a keyword. So the fifth rule that we need to define for creating the variable is your variable name you cannot give as your keywords. Okay, you can, or you cannot use your keyword as a variable name. Okay, while and return both are your keywords, so that's why these are known as a invalid variable name. Okay. So I will actually give here the numbers. You should tell me, is it valid or invalid? First one. First, valid or invalid? Basic summary.
Valid. Valid, sir.
Valid,
Valid.
sir.
Yes, yes, correct. Second one.
Valid, sir.
Valid, sir.
Okay. Third.
Not
Invalid.
valid, sir. Invalid.
Okay. Who is saying valid? Valid. Okay. Why there is why this actually the correct answer is the invalid? Why? Because there is a dash in between the basic and HRA. Dash is not allowed. Okay. Dash is not allowed. The next one is hash mean.
Invalid.
Yes, correct. Next one, group.
Invalid.
Invalid.
Valid, sir.
Invalid. Why invalid? Because there is a dot.
Because full stop is
Full stop is there.
Full stop is there. Yes. Next one, 422.
invalid.
Yes. Next one, population is 2006.
Invalid.
Invalid.
Invalid. Yeah, it is invalid because their space is there.
Space is
After
separated.
full population and after in there is a space. Over time.
Invalid.
Invalid.
Next, mind over matter.
Valid.
Valid.
Yes, valid. Next one, float.
Invalid.
Valid, sir.
Valid.
Valid or invalid?
Valid.
Invalid, sir.
Okay, invalid. Invalid.
Okay, who
Keyword.
is saying invalid? Just tell me why the reason. Well,
Sir,
invalid.
because
Keyword.
float is a data type.
Yeah,
Sir,
keyword.
because it's in capital. Keyword is small
Yes,
letter.
yes, yes,
Yeah,
correct.
yeah, valid,
Okay, yes.
valid.
Actually, it is a valid key, a valid variable name because the C language is a case sensitive language, and the small float and the capital float is both are different one. Okay, so this capital float is not a keyword, so that's why it is a valid variable name. Okay, next one, hello.
Valid. Valid, sir.
Yes, correct. Next one, Q dot.
Invalid.
Okay.
Invalid.
Team's victory.
Invalid.
Invalid.
Yes, because the apostrophe is there. Okay, plot #3.
Invalid.
Yes, correct. And the last one,
Invalid.
invalid. Why? Because it started with the
Starting from
digit
number.
so it is an invalid one. Okay, so let's start with the constant. So we have seen the examples for the variables. So what is variable? Variable is the one name given to the memory location. Okay, just like your city, your city has given the name as a Bangalore. Okay, so here also in our computer memory there is a RAM memory is there, and in that RAM memory, suppose we have allocated some part of that memory, so to access that memory we are giving the name to that memory only. Okay, so that using that name I can access it, I can modify that particular memory. Okay, but what done by constant? Constants are the data values or data that cannot be changed during the program execution. Okay, so constant is the data. For example, 10, take the example of value 10. Can I change the value of 10? You cannot change the value of 10 because 10 is 10, 9 is 9, 8 is 8. Okay, its value is already defined, the constant. That's why it's known as a constant. Okay, take the example of small a. Okay, small a in a single inverted comma small a. Now it is a character normally. So character means its value is already be defined. The value small a character value is the actually ASCII value is 97. It's already been value is defined. that is known as a constant. Some students are always make the confusion between the variables and the constant. So what is variable? Variables is the memory location where we are storing our constant. Okay, so variable is the memory location where we are storing the constant. And what is the constant? Constant is our data. For example, my name is a constant. Okay, we cannot change my name. For example, my marks is a constant. So that using the digits and using the alphabets, if you are making one string or any number, then that is known as a constant. So there are the two types of the constants, primary constant and the secondary constant. The primary constant means that is being we can directly store into the basic data types, just like integer, character, float, and the double. So these are the four basic data types in C language, and in which data types, in this data type, if you are able to store our constant, then that is known as a primary constant. Now secondary constant are the somewhat different one. That is the user defined variable we need to create here. This is just like your array, pointer, data, your structure, union, and the enum. These are known as your derived data types. Okay, and this integer, character, float, double, these are known as the your basic data type. Okay, so these derived data types are derived from the basic data type. That's why known as the derived data types. Okay, so if you want to store the marks of your class, the whole marks of the whole class, then you cannot store into the one integer. You should create an array of it. Okay, so array is derived from the integer. Okay, so that's why it is a secondary constant. Okay, so got it? Constant. So very simple one. Constant is our data. So there are again the different constant types of constant. First one is an integer constant. Integer constant, how to detect it is an integer constant? If your number is there and without decimal point it is being defined, then that is known as an integer constant. I take the example of 100, 488, 500, any value without decimal point is known as an integer constant. Next one is real or the floating point constant. Now real or floating point constant means the any number with a decimal point or the fractional form. If your number is having some fractional form or in exponent form, then that number is known as a real or the floating point constant. And what about the character constant? It is a constant which is a single character enclosed in a single inverted comma. Sorry. So it is enclosed in a single inverted comma. If it is included in single inverted comma, it is known as a character constant. Next one is string constant. Now string constant, now detecting the string constant and the character constant is again very easy. In a character constant, we can have only single character inside it, and it is enclosed by the single inverted comma. But strings can contain the more than one character. It can contain single character, but it can also contain the more than one character. But it is enclosed by the pair of the double quotes. Okay, so that double quote good, double quote complete. So if any value, if any string, or if any collection of the character enclosed in a double inverted comma, it is known as a string. Got it? Now the next one is array, pointer, structure, and the union. These are some only definitions. Array is a collection of, but actually there is a separate chapter for the array, pointer, structure, and union afterwards. So we are only seeing the definition. Array is a collection of these similar data type elements in a continuous memory. Okay, so it should be stored in continuous memory. It is a very important one, and it is a collection of similar data type items. And the next one is pointer. Pointer is a variable which points to another variable. Very simple, which contains the address of another variable. Okay, using which we can access the another variable. So that is known as a pointer, which is a very easiest topic in your C language, pointer. The next one is structure. Structure is a collection of dissimilar data types item, but it is stored in the continuous memory. So only difference between the array and structure is the array contains the similar data items and the structure contains the dissimilar data items. Okay, and next one is union. So union is very similar like your structure, but it uses the shared memory. So when we are starting the structure and union, we will get into the deep of this structure and union. Okay, now next one is data types. Okay, everyone has to note down. If you have the pen and the paper with you, you should note down this, whatever I am telling with you. The four basic data types in C language is the character, integer, float, and the double. Now character only occupies the 1 byte of the memory. 1 byte means 8 bits. 8 bits means there are only the 8 locations are there. In each location we can store only single bit. Now single bit means we can store only 0 or 1. So it means that we can have the maximum data in which we can store the character variable as all zeros, 8 zeros, and the maximum data is the all ones. Minimum is all zeros, maximum is all ones. Okay. Now next one is integer. Now integer, and actually in character variable we can store the your characters like it is enclosed in a single inverted comma, but we know that here this representation character represents small a, small b, capital A, capital B. These are only for the humans, but the computer don't know what done by capital A or small b. Okay, so the computer will interpret in terms of it, in terms of the ASCII value of that particular characters. For example, take the example of small a. Okay, take the example of small a. Okay, so here suppose if you are taking the small a, so and if you want to store the small a inside the computer memory, then actually this is the 1 byte of the memory. And what is actually gets stored into this memory? Suppose I am creating one variable name as a character ch. Okay, and in this ch, if I'm going to store this small a, if I'm going to store the small a here. Okay, so what this ch contains, if this is the ch, if this is the memory that this ch is pointing to, if this is the memory name as a ch, what this contains, is it contains small a, or is it contain the ASCII value of small a? Can anybody tell me?
ASCII values.
Value, sir.
Yes, ASCII value. The ASCII value of the small a is the 97. So it doesn't contain the small a, it contains the ASCII value, because and actually 97 is the decimal value. But this decimal value is only for humans, but the computer understand only the binary. So whatever the binary representation of the 97 is, it is the content of this memory. Got it? So binary representation, you get it, and you should know that this, what is the binary represent 97, and it is the content of this ch. So got it? Yes. Okay, so we have seen the character. The size of the character is 8 bits or the 1 byte. Remember it. Now next one is integer. Now integer data type, again it occupies 2 bytes or the 4 bytes. So why it is actually, it is known as a platform dependent data type. Integer data type is known as a platform dependent. Why platform dependent? For 16-bit memory, for 16-bit memory, actually the size of this integer data type is the 2 bytes, and for 32-bit memory, in the size of the data integer is the size of the integer is the your 1 minute. Yes. Okay, so here some mistake is there in my PPT. So for 16-bit compiler, the size of the integer is the 2 bytes, and for 32-bit compiler, the size of your integer is your 4 bytes. Okay, so just you have to make the note of it. So what done by 16-bit compiler? You already has been learning your C language using the Turbo C. Okay, so Turbo C is your 16-bit compiler. So when you are doing int a, there the size of that a is 2 bytes. But here we are using GCC here. GCC is the 32-bit compiler. So when you are creating the variable integer variable, then the size of that integer variable is the 4 bytes in a GCC. Okay, so take a difference again here. For Turbo C it is 2 byte, for GCC it is a 4 bytes of the memory that your integer requires. Now next one is float. The float requires the 4 bytes of the memory, and in which we can store the number which is having the decimal point. Okay, so the number with a decimal point we can store inside the float variable. Double is again same, but it is a double precision floating point number. So we can store the sorry, number having the more which cannot fit into the float. That number we can store into the double. You can see here the memory for the float as well as the memory for the double. The memory required for float variable is 4 bytes and the memory required for the double is 8 bytes. So obviously the double is having the more memory. It means that we can store the maximum number into the double. Now next one is the what is the range of these variables. Okay, a range. Now character, first talk about the character. If you are creating the character variable, by default it is a sign character. By default it is sign character. So again I need to modify here some PPTs. Okay, so yeah, correct one now. The character variable, if you are creating the character variable, the size is 1 byte and the range is -128 to +127. The meaning is in a 1 byte of the memory, you can store the maximum up to 127 only and the minimum up to -128. So why this only 127? Because 1 byte is 8 bit. 1 byte represent 8 bits. So in 8 bit actually, what is the maximum number we can store? It is 2 raised to 8. 2 raised to 8 is 255. So 0 to 255. But here only 127 is there, half of it. So why there? Because by default the character variable, if you are creating it, is a sign character. Sign character means we can store the positive value also, we can store the negative value also. So out of the 8 bit available to store your data, 1 bit is reserved to indicate that that number is a positive number or the number is a negative number. Okay, so only 7 bit is remaining to store our data. So in that 7 bit actually we can store the maximum of 127 and the minimum is -128. The format specifier required for the character variable is %C here. Next one is unsigned character. Now in unsigned character, what happened? The 1 bit that is required to store the plus or minus, now it is not required because it is an unsigned character. It means that we cannot store the negative value inside it. So negative value we cannot store. It means that we have the total whole 8 bit to store our data. So the minimum value is 0 and the maximum value is all ones, that is 255. Signed character is same as that of your simple character, char value. And the format specifier for all the characters is the %C only. Next one is the integer. Okay, integer is having the storage size as a 2 or 4 bytes. If it is a 2 bytes, then the range is given 32,767. It is a maximum value and the minimum is the -32,768. You should remember it. Okay, now for 4 bytes, now it is difficult to remember. It is 214748368. It is a negative value and up to the maximum value as a 21474836674. This is a positive and negative value that we can store into the simple integer. Okay, so depending on the compiler, you can decide the range here. If you are using Turbo C, the maximum value is 32,767 only. The data types required, the format specifier required for this integer data is the %D. Remember it. Next one is unsigned integer. Unsigned integer means here there is no negative number we cannot store into the integer in this variable. Okay, negative number we cannot store, so that's why here the one bit that is reserved to store that positive or negative number, it is not required. So whole 16-bit or whole 32-bit is required. It is can be used to store our data. So for 2 byte, the range is 0 to 65,535. It is double than this one, 32,767. Or again 0 to, if it is 4 byte variable, then it is 0 to this number. A very big number is there. And the format specifier is percentage %u. Percentage %u represent is an unsigned number. Okay, generally percentage %u is required to print the address of any variable. Okay, because address is the always the positive quantity, it is never be a negative quantity. Okay, so that's why it is always an unsigned quantity. So that's why to print the unsigned quantity we use the percentage %u there. There is one data type modifier named as a short and the long. These are the data type modifier for the integer to make your integer as a platform independent. So platform independent means, now here integer, if you're talking about only integer, it turbo C 2 bytes, GCC 4 byte. But suppose you want to create a variable, integer variable having the size of 2 bytes, always 2 byte. Doesn't matter what is the platform. It is a 32-bit or 16-bit platform. So you should use the short one. So if you are using short I, then the variable I is having the size as 2 bytes. And the and the here range is given minus 32,768 to plus 32,767. The format specifier is same, percentage %d. Unsigned short, yeah, again 2 byte is the storage, and the 0 to 65,535. Okay, so 2 bytes out of the 2 byte here in unsigned, whole 2 bytes is used, but in a sign by default it is a sign short. By default sign short. In sign short, out of the 2 byte, that is 16-bit, 1 bit is reserved for storing the positive negative, and the remaining 15 bits are used to store your data. Next one is the long one. Long integer is always having the size of 4 bytes. Doesn't matter you are in a 16-bit compiler or you are in a 32-bit compiler. Same for the unsigned long. Remember here the format specifier for the long is percentage %ld, and the format specifier for the unsigned long is percentage %lu. Okay, and regarding to the float here, the float is having the storage size as a 4 bytes, and the value range is the 1.2 E38, means 10 raised to minus 38. Okay, so it is 1.2 into 10 raised to minus 38 to 3.4 into 10 raised to plus 38. 10 raised to plus 38. So you can just imagine what is the big number it is. On one there is a 38 zeros are there. Okay, so this much big number we can store in float value. Next one is double one. In a double, actually again 10 raised to 308. This is the very big number actually in which we can store your values. Okay, so the size of the double variable is 8 byte, and the format specifier is a percentage %lf. For float it is percentage %f. For double it is a percentage %lf. Now next one is long double. Always remember here the long double is having the size as a 10 bytes. The size as 10 bytes. 10 byte means always the students are making the mistakes here. The float 4 bytes, double 8 bytes, and the long double 16 byte. Okay, so here long double is only having the size of 10 bytes only, and here you can check your range. It is maximum value is 10 raised to 4932. So on one there is a 4,932 zeros are there. This much big number we can store into the long double. Okay, now there is one more variable is there, long double. Long double is having the size of the 16 byte, but it is in extended C language. It is not in your ANSI C. Sorry. And next one is a string. String is a collection of character which is terminated by /0. Okay, it is terminated by /0. If your all the character and the last character of your character is the /0, you can say that this is my string. The format specifier to access the string is a %s. So you should make down these notes here. I will share this PPT with you, and again you should note down yourself also. Okay, and some input output operation we are going to see here because important one. The input operations are the scanf, getch, getchar, getas, getch, getchar, geta. These are related to the strings. Scanf can be used for getting the your integer variable or the value of the float variable or the double variable. For output purpose, we can use the printf, put ch, put char, or put s, any variable. Okay, so input means if you are getting the data, if you want to get the data from the user, then that is the input method. And if you want to display your result on your output device, that is your monitor, that is known as the output operations. Okay, so printf is very easy. Printf string, whatever you want to print here, you have to enclose in a double quote and you have to put it here. Okay, so examples is given here. Printf thank you, so it will print thank you here. So it means that this thank you is the input given to the printf function. So printf is a library function. You are calling this function, you are making a calling of that function, and you are giving this input thank you. And what the printf function is doing, it will print the thank you on the monitor. The next one is the another example of printf. Total sum is colon, and there is a format specifier is here. Actually, in the last slides, we have seen the format specifier. So here, integer is having the format specifier as %d. It means that if you want to print the value of the, integer variable, then you should use its format specifier. So here, total sum is %d, and this %d is the format specifier. It is a placeholder which value is replaced by the value of the sum. Okay, so you can say here sum value is replaced in a %d. Sum is replaced in a %d. Got it? Okay, and what is /n? /n is the new line character that should be included at the end of your string. Okay, and the scanf is again very easy. Scanf is generally used to get the data from the user. For example, if I want the integer variable to be scanned, so that's why the scanf should be. In a scanf function, very first argument is the double inverted comma. In a double inverted comma, what we are doing, what we are typing there? Format specifier. The format specifier defines that what you are scanning from the screen or what you are scanning from your keyboard. So %d represent you are scanning the integer. %c represent you are scanning the character. %f represent you are scanning the float value. And after scanning that or after getting the value from the console, actually where are you storing this value? So here the second argument should be address of that particular variable that in which you want to store this value. So whatever the value you are getting from the keyboard, that is get stored into the address of a. So it passes the address of the variable instead of variable itself. So if you are making here only a, so it is give the wrong result. So you should put here only address of a. The next one is the how your C program can be written. So very first one is the first line that we are always start with the #include stdio.h. So this #include stdio.h, it is the preprocessor directive. If any line start with the hash, if your any C language line start with the hash, it means that this is not for the compiler, this is for the preprocessor. Now let's discuss about the compiler and the preprocessor. Now compiler is one of the software which is checking your syntax of your program, and if your program is syntaxically correct, then it will convert your program into the machine language. But what the preprocessor is doing, the preprocessor is the before the compilation. Pre means before, process means processing this particular program, means compilation. So it means that pre-compilation. So before compilation, if you want to do anything, then you should do with this preprocessor directive, like hash include. It means that you are directing to the preprocessor that I want to include this header file, stdio header file, into my program. And now this, but for this you should have the stdio.h file present in your program, in your computer. If it is present in your computer, then only it can able to include, or otherwise you will get an error, preprocessor error, cannot include the stdio.h file. Okay, but next one is why we need to include stdio.h file. Can anybody tell me why there is a first line as a hash include stdio only? Can anybody tell me?
It includes all the library functions in it, input and
Oh,
output library function.
okay, but why we need this function? Why we need this function, input or output? Because we need to scan the inputs from the, we need to get the inputs from the user, and again after processing that inputs we need to show the result, whatever the result, to the your monitor. So that printf and scanf function is present in this stdio.h file. Okay, so that's why if you want to use this printf and scanf, then only include the stdio header file. Okay, suppose in there is one program in which I am not using the printf and scanf, so there is no need to include this header file, stdio header file. Got it? So the, if we are using the function present in the stdio header file, then only it is compulsory to include the stdio. Okay, don't directly start with the hash include stdio. If you are using the printf scanf, then use it. Okay, otherwise no need here. Next one is void main or int main. You can use the void main or the int main here. Generally in Turbo C you are using void main. Sorry. Turbo C actually support the void main. The void represent the main function is returning nothing. Now what is main function and why we are writing the main function only? Can anybody tell me why we are writing the main function in every C program? What is the necessity of writing the main function? Why not I'm starting with the function name as Ganesh? For example, my name is Ganesh, so void Ganesh. Why I'm not able to start my program with the Ganesh? Can you tell me? Can anybody tell me?
So we're using main because like it's the starting of the program. So
It is the starting point of the program. Okay, it is the starting point of the program. Okay, so and where the starting point has been defined, actually it is defined by in the your compiler. Okay, so it means that your flow of your program is always start from the main function. The very first instruction that is being executed in your program is always is the first instruction that is written in your main function. And operating system, suppose your program, your C program is having the hundreds of the function inside it, and if the starting point is not defined, then how your operating system will execute your program? So that's why it is compulsory to define that where is the starting point, and the starting point is defined as a main function. So every C program should have the main function in it, and whenever you are trying to execute it, then your operating system will call this main function only. And when until your main function is there, your program is there, and when your main function completes, your program get over. So the life of your program is only in a main function. But if you are in a main function, so you can call the other function also, you can execute that function. Again, you have to come back to the main function. And when the main function has completed its task, then your program get completed. Have you actually studied embedded system subject? Embedded system 8051? Do you
No,
have
sir.
that subject? Yeah.
No, sir.
If you are actually writing the program of 8051, any embedded program, that program should be a never ending program. So how we are doing that never ending program in C language? We are generally writing the while function, while one, and in that while one we are writing our instruction. So whatever the instruction we are writing into the while one, that is in an infinite loop, that is continuously being executed, and the main function never exists. Okay, never exit there. Okay, so that's why, but our desktop application need to be exit whatever the task that we have given to the main function, it is get executed, and after that, after completing the task, it should be exited. Okay, so that's why your program of the life is only within the main function only. Okay, so Turbo C supports wide main, but if you want to do a program in a Linux operating system or Mac operating system, I prefer to use int main. Okay, why int main? Because if you're writing the int in front of main, it means that you are returning something to the operating system. Now who call the main function? Your operating system will call the function. So whatever the output of the main, you have to give to the operating system. So who have called operating system called? So something has to be given as a return gift to your operating system. So if you are writing void main, it means that operating system calling the main function, but you are not returning anything. So how the operating system will know that what is your exit point? So to know the exit point of your main function, or to know the debugging of to get the debugging into your main function, actually C programming, you should give some return values in your main function. Generally, the last statement of your main function should be return 0. If the last statement is executed, it means that 0 is being returned. We can see that if the return value of my program is 0, it means that my program is successfully executed. But meanwhile, suppose I can put there, if this particular condition satisfied, then return -1. So I can check the return value of my program. If my return value of my program is -1, it is known as an abnormal termination. So I can have the different return values, and according to the different return values, I can say that my program has been terminated normally or abnormally. Okay, my program terminated normally or the abnormally. Got it? So that's why in a Turbo C, actually we cannot check that return value. That's why we're putting their void main. But in Linux, we can check the return value. So that's why we must use the int main. We can use void main also in a Linux also, but I prefer to use int main and empty brackets. The void, writing the void in the main is also possible, but I prefer to follow that method as this one. Just I'm changing here. Yes, this one. Yes. So this is the program that I'm following. Hash include stdio.h, and then int main, and then printf hello world, and then return 0, and then complete this. Okay, so this curly bracket defines the body of the main function. Body of the main function. Whatever you are writing inside this curly bracket, it is being only executed. If anything you are writing outside the main this body, it is never get executed until you call it. Suppose there is another function, display function. If you are not calling the display function, it is never get executed. If you want to execute, you need to call into the main function. Okay. So again, some examples. Operators operators examples we are going to see, but before this, some theory regarding to the operators. So there are three types of the operators: arithmetic operator, relational, logical operator. You already know that. Arithmetic operator, we know that plus, minus, division, multiply, and some increment operator is also there. Bitwise operator is also there. Relational operator, which give the relation between the two variables, like greater than, less than, greater than, equal to, less than, equal to. And some logical operator, and operator, not operator, or operator. These are some logical operator. So we'll see one by one. So addition operator, plus, minus, multiply, yeah, it is not actually different operator that you are studying in your first to fifth. Okay, so x plus y, yeah, we know that 13 plus 5 is 18. Okay, but this 4 operator, you know that, but the last one, modulus operator, is new to you. So can you tell me what is my modulus operator and what is the use of it?
Modulus means it gives the remainder.
Reminder, sir.
It gives the reminder. Actually, when you are going for the division, it gives the two results. First one is your quotient,
Quotient.
one is the reminder. So the quotient you are getting by using this divide operator. Okay, if you want quotient, just try divide operator. If you want the reminder, just use the modulo operator. Got it? So to get the modulus, we use the modulo operator. Next one is distance, equal to speed into time. This is one formula that I have made using the arithmetic operator. So what has happened inside this formula? Speed variable is multiplied with the time variable. So content of speed and the content of time get multiplied and the result stored in distance variable. Okay, so very easy thing. Okay, this one examples. Actually, after getting this PPT, you should go through this variable, go through this program. Now next one is the increment and decrement operator. This is a very important operator that everyone should know. So what is increment and decrement? Increment means if you are, it is a known as a unary operator. It means that unary means it is only operating on a single operand. So like x plus plus or plus plus x. Okay, so if you are using plus plus operator, it means that the value of that variable is incremented by 1. Value of the variable incremented by 1. But there are again two formats of this increment operator. First one is known as the pre-increment and the second one is the post increment. Okay, now pre and post we will see here. So what is pre and what is post? I will explain you with the example here. Let's see the example. First one is x is equal to 5. Now when x is equal to 5 and you are assigning that plus plus x to y. So y is equal to plus plus x. So when you are doing the pre-increment first, it means that before solving this expression, you have to increment it. So whatever the value of x is incremented by 1. So x becomes 6 and this 6 value is assigned to y. So it means that pre-increment is happened first. Then after that, the whatever the incremented value is get assigned to y. But it is not the case in terms of the post increment or the post decrement. Post increment means, post means after, means first apply the value of the x. Okay, now if x is equal to 5, if x is equal to 5 and suppose if x is equal to 5 and you are doing x plus plus, then it means that this 5 is assigned to y. The value of the 5, value of the x is assigned to y, and then after assigning the value of x is incremented. So the value of x, after executing this expression, value of x becomes 6, but the value of y is only 5. Why 5? Because here the previous value of x is assigned first, then it is incremented value of x here. So that is the difference between pre and the post. Always remember that pre means before using the variable, you have to increment it. Post means first use the value and then after that increment it or the decrement it. So after 1. So x plus plus increment x after its value has been used. So everyone clear this concept, pre and post?
Yes, sir.
So
Okay. Now same for the decrement. Okay, same for the, actually we are going to see some examples related to this operator. That's why I'm quickly taking the only overview of these operators. The bitwise operator is the next operator that we are going to see. Actually, for electronics engineer, these bitwise operators are the very important operators. If you want to go into the embedded system or embedded programming, then this bitwise operator, everyone you should know. Okay. Now, what is the first one? AND operator. You know that here the truth table of AND. The truth table of AND represent 1 1 for 1 1 for both. If the both input is 1, the output is 1. Actually, bitwise operator will operates on the operand by bitwise. It means that the whatever the value of that variables get converted into the binary and according to the that operation, which operation, suppose AND operation. So just refer the truth table of the AND operation, and according to the whatever the particular bits, that value get evaluated. For example, take the example of A is equal to 60 and the B is equal to 13. So A value is given here and the B value is given here in terms of the your binary. Now A, if you are doing A and B, means first 0 1. Now 0 1 0, 0 1 is 0, 0 0 is 0, 1 1 is 1, 1 1 is 1, 1 and 0 is 0, 1 and 0 is 0, 1 and 0 and 0 is 0, and 0 and 0 is 0. So A and B, the binary becomes 0 0 0 0, 1 1 0 0. If you are converting this into the decimal, it becomes 12 here. Okay, so according to it, actually we can operate this bitwise operation. So very first one is AND operation. It is using truth table as a 1 1 1. OR operation, it is using 0 0 0 only, remaining is 1. XOR operation, if both inputs are same, then the output is 0, and if both inputs are different, then the output is 1. Okay, next one is here left shift operator and the right shift operator. It will shift your pattern, bit pattern, by a specified number at the your right hand side. Okay, and the last one is the complement operator. Complement means whatever the content of your binary content of your variable get inverted. So 1 is replaced by 0 and 0 is replaced by 1 there. Okay, so these are some example here. X is equal to 5 and Y is equal to 1 is here, and how it is operated. Actually, you can do your manual work. Okay, so AND or XOR. Anyone having the doubt regarding to this? How actually it be evaluated? Anyone having the doubts? How the AND operation, OR operation, XOR operation, or are you clear with this? Or I should I take one examples? Yes, clear.
Sir, left shift and right shift once you tell, sir.
Okay, so actually I will explain you with the whiteboard here. Okay, so am I audible?
Yes, sir.
yes, sir.
Sorry. Suppose there is one variable, suppose integer a is equal to 5. Okay, and if you are doing integer b is equal to a left shifted by 1. Okay, so what is the value of b that we need to calculate here? So in b is equal to a left shifted by 1. So actually how it is being calculated here? Now first find the here binary value of A. Binary value of A, that is 5. So binary value of 5 is 1, 2, 4, 8. So it is 1, 1 and 0, 0. So the binary value of A is this one. The remaining are 0, 0. Okay. So this is A. Now if you need to find out the value of B, what you need to do here? What you need to do here? So here you need to shift here. You need to shift here by 1. But what is the shifting here? Left shift. So left shift means this 1. It is a position number, or the position. I'm writing here position 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. These are the positions. Now here 0 position, whatever the bit present at the 0 position, it is moved to the first position. This first position moved to the second position. So all bits are shifted by 1. So what about the 0th position? That the 0th position, the new 0 is being added. So just find out the value here. 1010. 1010 means it is 1, 2, 4, 8. So 8 plus 2 is 10.
10.
The value of B is equal to 10. The value of B is equal to 10 here. Okay. So left shifting means actually shifted by 1. If this is 1. So you can you see here, A is 5. If I'm shifting by 1, B becomes here 10. So it is doubled. So there is one formula here. Without calculating this, without calculating manually, we can say here, if any number is shifted by 1, it is always get doubled. It is always get doubled. Take any example. Suppose the number is 12. Okay, number 12. The 12 means 1, 2, 4, 8. Okay, so it is 12 means 1. Okay, so this is my 12. Now if I'm shifting the 12 by 1 bit, left shifted by 1. So my answer should be 24. Okay, according to my formula, my answer should be 24. So just check it here. So this 0 is replaced here. It is 0, this 1 and this 1, 0, 0, 0. Okay, and the last is replaced by 0. This is the new position. Okay, the new 0 is being added at the last here because it is replaced by 1. So if you are find out this, it is 16 plus 8. What is 16 plus 8? It is 24. So manually, actually, without doing manually, we can actually have the formula that shifted by 1 means multiplying your variable by 2, and left shifted by 1 means multiplying, and right shifted by 2, right shifted your number by 1 means divide by 2. Take the again example here. Suppose there is number 12 is there, and if you are doing a right shift, if you are doing a right shift here, then what happened? This 0 is moved here, but this 0 is placed at the 0th position. This second position is the first position. This is at the second position 1, and then remainings are 0. So what is the answer here? So it is 0, 0, 0, 0 and 1, 1, 0. So the answer is 1, 2, 4, 8. So 4 plus 2, that is 6. So you can have the answer as 6 here. So you can note down here, left shift by 1 means multiply by 2. Right shift by 1 means divide by 2. Left shift by 1 means multiply by 2, and right shift by 1 means divide by 2. Okay? Yes? So got it?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay, we will see again one example of the complement, but in examples actually when you are starting the examples. Okay, this is the same example is mentioning here. Okay, so I will share this PPT with you. after the session. You should go through this. There are some again relational operator. Now relational operator give the relation between the two quantities, just like two variables. Suppose there is a two variables A and B. If you want to compare the two variable, which one is greater, which one is smaller, you can use it A less than B, A greater than B, A less than or equal to B, A greater than or equal to B, A equal to B, A not equal to B. It will give the result in terms of the zero and non-zero. Okay. In C language, it will give the result in terms of the zero or non-zero. Zero represent false and the non-zero represent the true. So it means that if A is equal to 10 and B is equal to 2, if A is 10, B is equal to 2, then A less than B will give the result as, what is the result? If A is 10 and B is 2, what is the result? A less than B. Result is true or false?
Zero, sir.
False. Zero.
False.
0 means false. Okay. The result is false. So according to the actual result, you can get. So here some examples are given. 10 greater than 20, yeah, it is false. 20 less than 30.35.5, it is true. 12 is greater than 7 plus 5, false. Greater than or equal to, yeah, it is true. Okay. These some examples. Yeah, when we start the if else, actually we are going to see this relational operators. The next operator is your logical operator. The logical operator is generally used to combine the two conditions. So you want to check the two condition at a time, more than one condition. If you want to check it, then you should combine. You can combine it with using the logical operator. And operator. And operator means if two conditions are there, and if the both conditions are true, then only you have to execute something. Then you can use your logical AND operator. So we know that here logical and how the logical operator works. If X and Y both are true, then only the result is true. If X is one of the condition, Y is one of the condition, if both conditions are true, then only the whole result is true. Okay. The next one is OR operator. If one of the condition is true and if you want to execute the instruction, then you should use your logical OR. Next one is logical NOT. Logical NOT means if there is one condition and if you want to make that condition as a false one, if the condition is true and if you want to make that condition false, then you can apply the NOT operator in front of that condition, then it becomes false condition. Okay, this is again some examples. We are always going to see these examples. Yeah, shorthand notation is also there. Shorthand notation means suppose C is equal to C plus A. If you want to execute it, now you can execute by using this by its equivalent expression C plus equal to A. So when you are writing C plus equal to A, this is nothing but C is equal to C plus A. Only somewhat difference is there, only writing difference. So you can write this as well, or you can write this also. So don't confuse when there is in your program C plus equal to A, the representation is somewhat different, but actually it is C is equal to C plus A. So there are the shorthand notation for every operation. Okay, and the special symbols, comma operator and the size of operator is there. Now comma operator operates. So suppose if you want to execute the more than one instruction in the same line, then you can separate that instruction or the expression by using the comma operation, comma operator. Just like I equal to 1, comma j equal to 2. It means that first I is initialized with 1 and j is initialized with 2. So there are the two instructions are there, but this two instruction you should write into the first part of your for loop, that is initialization part. So to get this, you should separate that expression with the comma operation here. So one by one, all operation will be executed one by one here. I equal to 1, comma j equal to 2, comma k equal to 3. All the operation will be get executed. But it is evaluated from left to right. Remember here, it is evaluated from left to right, so left expression is always having the priority over the right operation. Okay, so I is equal to 1 expression evaluate first, then j is equal to 2 get evaluate. Now the next one is the size of operation. The size of operator, actually again there is someone what there is a correction here. Size of, there is no space between the size and of. Okay, size of control. Okay, so size of operator actually gives the size of any any variable or the data type. Just like here int sum is there and float f is there. So if you want to print the size of this f variable, so f is a float variable, the size of the float we know that 4 bytes, so size of f will be 4 byte here, and the size of sum will be 4 byte in case of it is a 32-bit compiler. Okay, and next one is size of 235L. L represent it is a double number, so that double number means it is a double data type. The data type double data will having the size as 8 byte, so it will return 8. And size of small a, the small size of small a is, what is my size of small a? So what is the here small size of small a is 1. Size of small a is 1 because the small a is nothing but I have enclosed in a single inverted comma, so it is a character variable. So character variable size is 1 byte here. Okay. Now next one is again operator precedence and associativity. Now operator precedence means we have seen the different types of operators, but suppose if there are more than one character in your expression, then which operator get executed first? That is the main question. Okay, so this is the answer for it. This is the precedence table. The operator which is come first having the higher precedence, like bracket is having the highest precedence than the other operators, like plus minus, unary plus minus. There are two operator, unary plus minus, unary operator, and the binary operator is also there, plus minus. So unary operator is having the higher precedence, that is plus minus 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 plus plus and then not and this complement, higher precedence. Then your arithmetic operator, in the arithmetic operator multiply, division and modulus is having the same priority, plus minus is having the same priority. Okay, but plus minus is not executed first. First in your expression, if the multiplication is there and plus addition is there, first multiplication is executed according to the BODMAS rule. Okay, the next one is your different types of the operator. You need to learn this operator precedence table. Now what done by this associativity? Can anybody tell me, can anybody having the knowledge about it, what done by associativity? Here it is written left to right, right to left. ये क्या होता है? What is the meaning?
So in which order we have to solve the expression?
Which order you have to solve, or you can say that, in other words, you can say that if in case of in your expression, if there are the multiplication operator is there and the division operator is there. Okay, now this multiplication and division is having the same priority. Which operations should be solved first? If there are two operators in the expression having the same priority, then which operation should be performed first? So which operation? It decides by its associativity. So leftmost operator has to be highest precedence than the rightmost. Okay, so it is executed from left to right. So the leftmost operator execute, then it's right, then it's right, then it's right, then it's right. Okay, so in this way you have to again remember the associativity of all the operators. This is very important regarding to your campus placement and your MNCs, actually for your MNCs. Okay, so actually this operation I am going to see see you in your whole. Okay, so yes. So today this is only theory. From tomorrow, actually, we are going to start the decision making structure. But before that, actually, from tomorrow, we are not going to directly start with the decision making. We are doing some programs based on what theory we have learned here. So quickly, I will take you some 2 or 3 examples. Then after that, we will stop today's session. Okay. So let me start with the terminal. So have you installed that Linux operating system in your computer, or which operating system you are preferring?
Yeah, sir, I've installed.
Yeah, you install. Other one, Linux operating system or the GCC. How many of you have installed? Because look, if you lagging now in your first 2 or 3 days, then actually it matters very lot after the 3 or 4 lectures. So if we are starting with the array na, and if you are not performing these basic operations that we are going to see, then you are not able to understand that advanced concept, array, pointers, structures. Okay, so whatever the assignment that I am giving, you should complete it. If you are not installed, then it is the time. Today is the time to install it. So very first one is, okay, so should what is the name of the folder that we have created? I think cd clang, yes, clang underscore practice.
Underscore.
Okay, it is already there, because no need to create it again and again, because we're already there. The yesterday actually this folder is not there, so that's why we have used mkdir clang underscore practice, but this folder is already there, so that's why I'm using it, clang underscore practice, cd underscore, change the directory to clang underscore practice. I can say here there are 3 files are there, a.out, hello, and the hello.c. Suppose I want to create one more file, nano, and suppose the expt1.c. okay, experiment1.c. okay, so this is one file that I am creating. So start with the, because I'm going to use the printf and scanf, so that's why I'm including here stdio.h, and then main function. In the main function, then return 0. Okay, now very first program that I want to share with you is a printf. Tell me what is the result here, percentage d. One variable I'm using, integer, not integer, character ch is equal to 97 percentage d ch. Okay, so if I'm trying to run this program, what is the output? Just try to give the
So
output.
90.
we'll get an error. So,
Error, sir.
Error. Where is the error?
97.
so because person, yeah.
It'll be type error.
Typo error. But where is that error? Can you?
Character should be a single character, like
Okay.
a letter
So
or
just
something,
check
but
it
not.
here. Okay, just check it. Okay, so this is the same program. I'm
Let's see,
saving it.
sir.
I'm saving it and I'm compiling it. GCC expt1.c. According to you, there is an error, but there is no error. You can see here. I'm compiling. There is no error. And if I'm trying to run it now, just see the program. See the program. This is the program, and I'm a.out file. I'm running it. The output is 97. Okay, so surprise. Why there is a 97?
Yeah.
Surprise. So whatever we have learned, actually that is a theory part, but theory is totally different than the practical. Okay, so that I have to point out here. Okay, so here what in theory actually we have see that here in a CH we can store the character values. We can store the character value, but the character value should be enclosed in a single inverted comma. But here, if I'm not enclosing in a single inverted comma, and if I'm if I'm only giving the number here, so actually if you are giving here some character value, what is being stored into the CH? It is stored. What is being stored into the CH? It stored the ASCII value. So ASCII value is your decimal value. So here we can directly store the decimal value inside it. So 97 can be directly stored into CH itself. Now the CH contains 97. CH contains 97. And what I'm doing here, the CH value I'm printing here, but what format specifier I'm using?
Percentile D.
D. What percentage D means? You are printing the integer value of this variable. Now integer value of the variable is 97. So that's why the output is a 97. So just I'm making some changes here. Okay. So can you tell me now what is the output? Instead of percentage D,
Error, sir.
using percentage C.
No,
Now it will show error, sir.
It will show error.
not
Yes,
return the ASCII value, sir.
It print the
ASCII value.
ASCII value or simple just okay. What I'm doing here. Cat. Okay, so this is my program. Character CH is equal to 97. Okay, and CH I'm printing. But what is the value that I'm printing? I'm printing the character value of 97. What I'm printing? Character value. What is the character value of 97?
A.
Small a.
Capital. Yeah.
It is a small a. So we will see the output. It is small a. Getting?
Yes.
It will print the character value of small a. Or instead of that, I can do this also. I can use here directly small a.
Yes, sir.
I can put directly small a. Now, if I'm trying to compile it and trying to run it, so output is small a. Got it? So what is the matter here? If you change the program, actually this is the program that you are learning in your theory. But in a practical or in a MCQ, if this type of the program appears, then you get confused.
Sir,
Yes,
now what if you give percentage D there?
97.
97 you get.
Yes, 97. Now what you are doing? The CH contains the ASCII value of small a. What is the ASCII value of small a? 97.
97.
CH contains 97. And what you are printing? You are printing the integer value of your CH. Integer value of CH is 97.
97.
But the character value of the CH is small a. Got it?
Okay, sir.
Okay, so percentage D, if I'm doing this, then you will get the 97 output. Got it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what is the result now? Tell me.
Capital A, sir.
128.
Capital A is
128, sir.
128.
128. 128.
128. Yes, everyone answer 128.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
Sir.
Okay. My answer is different. Actually, there is only warning is there, but program successfully compiled. So my answer is minus 128. Anyone give the reason?
Because
Out of range.
Yes.
Out of
What we have learned in your theory,
127
the maximum
minus
value
128.
that we can store inside the character variable is 127. Now 127 means if you are trying to store more than 127, it will goes to the negative value. So what is the next negative value after the 127 minus 128?
120.
You know that so I will give you the demonstration with the one whiteboard here. Clear. Okay, so this is your number line and this is the number 0, and here this is the maximum number, it is plus
127
127, and this is the minimum
minus
number,
120.
is minus
Minus 128.
128. So what you are doing, you are storing the number after 127. So when you are storing after 127, it will go again start with this one. So what is the next number after 127? Number is 128. So 127 plus 1 is minus 128. 127 plus 2 means minus
Minus 127.
127 plus 3 means minus
Plus
126.
6. Okay, so we will try to check it again with the help of the terminal. So here 128, 130. Okay, so tell me the result.
Minus
Minus
126.
125.
25 or 126?
125.
120.
120.
Minus 125.
126. 126, I guess.
Okay,
Yes,
so
sir. 126.
never
Minus
be in a hurry
126.
while giving the answer. You should have your notepad with you, pen with you. Just draw the timeline, your number line, and just calculate the value. Okay, so it is minus 126. Got it? So actually this type of the question asked in your GATE. If you are giving the GATE examination for the computer engineering, you can give your examination of your computer engineering, GATE examination in computer engineering itself. I am also the Bachelor of Electronics and Telecommunication, but I have cleared the GATE examination of computer engineering. It is not so much difficult examination than your electronics and telecommunication. GATE exam is the most difficult exams out of the remaining GATE examination. Computer one is the very easiest one. Okay, if you want to pass the GATE examination, just go for the computer engineering. Okay, so character CH, so just give me the answer here. Integer A is equal to 10 and percentage D A. So what is the answer?
10, sir. 10.
10, correct?
Yes.
Everyone, 10.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Now it is percentage X. Suppose I'm giving another variable name. To remove confusion, actually, I'm giving another variable. Okay. Now next one. Integer I is equal to 10, percentage D, I, and I. Now here the value of I is replaced here. Percentage D is the placeholder. Value of I is again replaced here because two placeholders is there here.
What is percentage X?
Yes, that should be the question you should ask. Percentage X is the format specified to print the hexadecimal number of your variable, integer variable, hexadecimal number. So I variable is your 10, decimal 10. Huh? So convert the decimal 10 into your hexadecimal. So what is the answer? Convert 10 into hexadecimal. How much time required? So answer is is it difficult one? Conversion of 10 into the hexadecimal? Don't know? 10 into hexadecimal. The answer is A. Okay, so you've forgotten your first year, I think. Digital electronics. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. After 9, it is A, B, C, D, E, F. After F, that is 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 5, 1, 6, 1, 7, 1, 8, 1, 9. After that, 1 A, 1 B, 1 C, 1 D, 1 E, 1 F. After that, 2, 0. That is your hexadecimal numbers. So answer is 10A. 10 space A, small a. So the small a is the nothing but your hexadecimal representation. So got it? So everyone getting my voice?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so got it? This, whatever I have
Yes, sir.
said here, have you got it? What is a hexadecimal representation of 10A? Okay, so A get printed here. Okay. So do you have that in your syllabus, conversion?
Yes, sir, we had.
Yeah, so that's why.
First year.
First year, na? So that's why. That is the problem. Okay, so now next one is. Now you first two, you know, 10 and this is A. Now next one is percentage O.
Oh.
Percentage O means
Octadecimal.
Octadecimal.
it is a octal number. So what is octal number? What is the octal numbers? Valid octal number 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
7.
Up to 7. And after 7 it is again 1, 0.
And yes, sir.
1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3. So what is 10? 10 decimal in octal.
1, 2 is
So
One.
7. 8 means
1,
1,
1,
0. 8 means 1, 0. 9 means 1, 1. And
1,
the
2.
1, 0 means
10 means
1, 2.
1, 2, sir.
1, 2.
Yes. So just check it. So the answer is 1, 2.
1, 2.
Got it? So these type of actually the very small programs you should know, the basics you should know. What we are generally doing, we go toward the advanced. And what happened, if you are going for MNC, any MNC, just like your Apple or Google, then they accept this type of the knowledge, basic knowledge. They only require the basic knowledge. So how many basic knowledge you have, that amount of salary you are getting in your placement. If you have the higher level of knowledge, any higher level of knowledge, then you are getting the less salary. If you are having the very lower level of the knowledge, very lower level means you are up to the your memory, how the memory works, how your actually variables get stored, how the floating point representation is there, the bitwise operation, how it is carried out. The if you're trying for the different C aptitude exams, then you definitely you are going to select in a very reputed MNC company. Okay, so so we'll stop today. So yes,
Shouldn't that be capital A? Like,
this one, no?
yeah,
It should be capital A.
like I'm asking, so.
Actually, in a hexadecimal, small a and capital A is the both same.
Okay.
But compiler will give the output in terms of the small a. But you can give the input as a capital A also.
Okay.
Just like suppose here 0xa. Okay, so output is same. And if you are giving here 0x capital A. The output is same.
Okay.
Got it?
Yeah.
So you can give the input in terms of capital, but the compiler will always give the result in terms of the small. Okay, it is related to your hexadecimal numbers only. Okay, so what we do, tomorrow we will take some more practice sessions on this type of the questions. We'll take at least 40 MCQs, not MCQs, what is the type of the program, what is the output of the program type of the question, and then after the tomorrow, that is day after tomorrow, we'll start the decision control structure. Okay, but I require the same pace that I am teaching with you. You should follow the same pace or the same speed. Okay, so what is your task today? I'm sharing you that PPT. I will share you the link of that PPT. You can download that link through that link, and then after that you should go through that PPT, and then you should try whatever it is mentioned. Any program it is mentioned, you should try it out by yourself by typing your program. And one more assignment is remaining. If you are not doing that one, is installing the Ubuntu operating system in your computer, or install the VirtualBox and then install the Ubuntu operating system. Okay, or instead of that you can also go for the online compiler if you have the internet connectivity. Okay, but I prefer the Ubuntu operating system being installed in your operating system. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's only for today.